Hello, everyone. This is Nathan Chua again. I know it's been a long time since I last did this, and I want to let you know that I've been having a hard time sitting for too long lately, and I'm trying to address it. And I found a very healthy compromise, which is to just do the vlogs or the video blogs and the podcasts, which I can do in all in one sitting. No, so this will be seen on YouTube and Spotify, and also through my website. Unfortunately, with my trouble sitting down for long hours, I can't really write something. So those of you who like prefer to read, I'm sorry, but for now you'll have to settle for this particular format. It's more audio visual. Okay. So anyway, I think that's where we're all headed. So let's go back to the vlog right now, and I'll share with you my current interest in philosophy of science and why do we need a philosophy of science in psychology. Well, with the many models of therapy that we have, no, why do we need philosophy when there are so many um, approaches out there, models of therapy that seem to have worked for so many people? So why bother yourself with a philosophy? So, uh, my view is maybe a lot of the ACBS people would agree with me that when you don't have a philosophy of science, you'd end up with some kind of a therapy salad. So you're gonna become eclectic. You're gonna pick and choose whichever therapy approach you think will be appropriate for the person sitting across from you. Well, what I realized through my constant research and through my reading and all that stuff, the philosophy of science will actually determine how you look at or treat that person in front of you in the counseling room. So, why? Why is there a need, and what is philosophy of science? Well, a philosophy of science would mean that you would have certain assumptions about how you arrive at knowledge. No, what do you think is true, and how do you get there? All right. So, how do you get there? How do you arrive at knowledge? That's epistemology. What is what actually exists is what we call ontology, and methodology. What how we use or how we come up with the findings that we get out of the research that is based on our assumptions about human beings, right? Or our assumptions about what is true about human beings. Okay. So consequently, it will affect the way I look at my clients and the way any therapist would view that person, that human being on the counseling chair. So part of that is our view of human nature. And I frequently watch Stephen Hayes in many of his interviews, and in a couple of them, he had mentioned this experiment about a very young child, like an infant, that's below 1 year old, who is who are pre-verbal, who don't recognize language yet. They subjected these kids to an experiment wherein there's a mean and a nice puppet. And lo and behold, and Steve would share this in in some of his interviews, that they found out that there's a pro-social, cooperative nature in us that wants to be helpful. And since I've been sharing this with my clients, I said, well, why don't I verify it more by doing some research behind it? What that actual experiment was? No? And it turns out there's actually more than just that. It's actually just a quarter of the whole experiment. Could be more, I'm not sure. But right now, that's what I know. So I don't want to deal with the other two out of the four. I'll just deal with just two. So one is that we're pro-social, and the other one is the dark side of us, in which we are they've discovered through the experiment with these infants. And by the way, I can't show them to you here, but it's on YouTube, and I'll put the link in the description box so you can watch the whole experiment as featured on 60 Minutes. All right. Uh, so uh, the other darker side is infants, pre-verbal infants, don't actually, I mean, tend to like people who have similar preferences as them, as opposed to puppets, not people, but puppets who don't share the same preferences as them. All right. So we're kind of tribal, and we have that bias, no, towards similar people who are similar to us. So it's understandable because back in our caveman days, that's part of how we protect ourselves from ourselves and be able to survive in the wild. No, if that doesn't look like a human being, it looks like another moving creature, sentient moving creature. It could be dangerous. It could be a predator, you know, or it could be the tribe on the other side of the mountain, because we are a tribal species. Way back then, we lived in communities of not more than 150 people. And it's understandable that our minds or brains will develop, or our makeup will develop a capacity to determine which is safe and which is unsafe. All right. So, well, to make a more contemporary example, we can see that in parents and kids, right? Well, my kid's different. You should be similar to me when I was growing up. Or the kid saying that, oh, you're so different, mom, dad. I mean, why do you want to impose what you want on me, right? So we can see that our differences can cause conflict. And most evidently, for couples, because you ultimately you will find out as couples that you belong to two different cultures. You know, uh, one will like sports and the other one won't be sporty enough, or you would like different kinds of leisure activities, or even the way you use the bathroom. So that's a pretty evident, that couples fight because it's the other. We tend to hate differences. And it also happens in the workplace, you know. So you'd probably see that um, when your boss seems to act differently, or some workmates of yours just don't share the same, let's say, likes or dislikes as us, as you, all right? And it also shows up in the counseling room when, uh, I was trained in the psychodynamic model of therapy, and I usually tend to want to suspect something wrong with my client. There's a disorder here that I have to take care of, reduce that level of distress. Um, that these people have some kind of a dark past that they need to be more aware of or get over. Well, with ACT, and like I said, with what Stephen Hayes usually uh, shares about that experiment, I realized that, well, there's a brighter side inside of us, and that's the more cooperative side, and that really affected the way I see my clients, and I became more empathic towards them. That they're just doing this thing that the mind is trained to do, which is to discriminate. You know, we see that in the racism that we see all around us nowadays. Treating the other as bad or evil or something like that, and uh, you know, knowing this, that where there's a pro-social side of us, that's what I want to draw out in the client that's sitting in front of me. That they we really want something that's helpful to any situation. Like could be in the office, could be at home, uh, could be in sports or whatever situation we find ourselves in. So I had a more positive view of my client. Uh, so now the question that begs the question. So what do we do with that dark side since it's ingrained in us? It's part of us. Well, as in ACT, we use a lot of stories, metaphors, thought experiments. So this time, through my research again, I found this story that was shared by a Cherokee uh, grandfather who was talking to his grandson. And I'd like to share it with you now and see how, if you were an ACT therapist out there, or maybe even whatever approach you're using. And this will probably uh, give you an idea how you as an ACT therapist, or even you as a person, can be able to handle these two natures that are fighting within the each of us. Like Stephen Hayes would always say that there's a devil and an angel inside of us, and we learned that, right, in back in grade school from our religion teachers, right? Okay, so the story goes like this. It's the story of two wolves. So an old Cherokee Indian chief was teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside of me, he told the young boy. A fight between two wolves. One is evil, full of anger, sorrow, regret, greed, self-pity, and false pride. The other is good, full of joy, peace, love, humility, kindness, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you, grandson, and inside of every other person on the face of this earth. The grandson ponders this for a moment and then asks, Grandfather, which wolf will win? The old man smiled and simply said, The one you feed. So I hope this is a fitting ending to this very short video blog, sorry. And I hope you enjoyed it and learned from it one way or another. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sharing this with you, and I do share this with my clients. And hopefully, I can do this more often in the future. Okay. So you have a nice day and you take care. Bye bye for now until the next time.